Alright guys, welcome to another honey hole angling video. Today we're going to be tying a pine squirrel leech. This thing is fairly easy. It's really only two materials, but the dubbing loop can be kind of finicky with the pine squirrel, so I'm going to show you a trick today that I think I figured out that might make it a little bit easier to handle. So we are going to start off with some thread. I'm tying this on a B10S hook with a 1/8 gold bead. This hook is a size 10, and you're going to take your thread halfway down the shank. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to grab a couple strands of flash, 3 or 4, because I like to fold it over the thread. Grab a couple strands of flash. I got Zach Harris with me here too. He's helping me out today, hanging out.
Hey.
I folded those over. I'm going to tie those on. Perfect. We can trim those later. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a strip of pine squirrel and I'm going to cut this into a point. So I'm going to cut there, and I'm going to cut there to make this pointed. Oh, you know what?
Uh-oh, you did it backwards?
No, I did it the right way.
So we were talking about this fly earlier. Did you say this is a new one to your arsenal, or you had just never tied them?
I have never fished one. I have never tied them. I was looking through one of my fly tying books to come up with ideas of flies for us to tie. And this thing looked dirty, and I was like, I have some squirrel. I could tie this fly. So I started sitting down and kind of working it out. I tied probably 8 total, if I were to guess. A little bit different variations on a couple of them, but just to kind of work it out how I liked it. And this is what I'm tying right now is what I landed on.
So I'm curious, earlier you were telling us that this might be one of your new favorite flies. What fish do you have in mind when you're using this?
So for me, this is like, to me, this could become a hill country staple. It's the perfect size for a lot of our rivers here, like the San Antonio River, Guadalupe River, Llano River. There's opportunities for big bass, but realistically, if you just want to go have a fun day and catch like small to medium-sized bass and panfish, it seems like to me this fly would absolutely kill. I mean, the pine squirrel just looks delicious. It's really easy to tie. You could lose them and not feel bad about it. And so I just don't see a losing scenario here. So I tied the tail in about the length of the shank of the hook. I tied it in halfway up the shank. So you guys, a lot of flies, you're gonna work further back down on the hook. This one you can tie in on the middle. And the next thing is gonna be the hardest part, which is we're gonna make a dubbing loop, and we're going to tie a pine squirrel dubbing loop. Now, you can actually tie in the pine squirrel with the strip and wrap it. I tried that. I don't think it looks as good. It's pretty obvious. I think the dubbing loop looks better, but if you're having a hard time with the dubbing loop, you can still get away with wrapping the pine squirrel with the leather still attached.
You could probably even trim a clump of hair off of the leather and tie one clump on top and one clump on bottom and make sure they're dispersed around the shank, and that would work too. I would think, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I think that would work as well.
If you were absolutely just having issues.
So I got my dubbing loop pliers here. So I'm just gonna set that down and hold that open. Now, I'm gonna try to show this to you guys on camera. What I've done is I've actually used a hair clip to hold this strip to my vise. So you can see how I can pull on this pretty hard and I can stretch it out. What you want to do is you want to take some kind of clip. Zach, you said you used a credit card somehow?
Yeah, so Landon's going to show you, you put the hair in the clip and essentially trim it off of the hide. And I've got a clip like that, and I usually do this with rabbit on my crab flies. I'll make a rabbit hair collar, but I don't want that leather because it soaks up a lot of water, so I try to do the dubbing loop, and sometimes the clip doesn't work all that well. So what I'll do is I'll actually lay down, if you want me to get specific, it's an old Whataburger gift card. I'll trim off a little bit of hair at a time from the hide, and I'll lay it Right about, let's say 40, 60 on that card. 40% of the hair is hanging off, and I'll line it up and get it evenly laid out, and then that way I just pick up that gift card, hold my dubbing loop open, slide the gift card in, and grab the hair with the thread and pull the card out. That's another way to do it. If you don't have the clip, you can do it that way, or sometimes, like I said, the clip just doesn't want to cooperate.
Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some dubbing wax just to help hold those hair fibers. Just a little bit goes a long way. And then just kind of disperse it with my fingers if there's a lot. Wipe it off on your pants, because this hair is really fine. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open that loop up, and I'm going to slide in the hair. And I'm going to close that loop around both sides of the hair, and then I'm going to let go. Perfect. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to spin this until that hair starts to wrap up like this. You guys can see it starting to wrap up. A little bit of hair is coming out, no big deal. We're going to wrap that up pretty good. You can see how delicious that dubbing loop looks with the pine squirrel.
Oh, uh-oh. You got a little piece of leather right there.
Oh, it's okay. Mistakes happen. No big deal. So I'm going to come around. And at this top part, it's a little bit thin. So I'm going to stack it really close to each other to make up for that. And I can spread it out as I come along. And I'm just folding the fibers back as I move forward.
Why do you fold them back?
Just to, I think it makes it look better, and you get all those fibers making sure they're going backwards.
Oh yeah, that already looks good.
And then when I get up to this bead, even though there's some left and it feels like you're not quite there yet, I'm still going to force all this hair behind this bead. That really puts a lot of pressure on the bead and holds it tight in place. And then I know that yeah, that's nice and tight, which is what I want. I'm going to secure that with a couple wraps. Then I'm going to trim. Little trick, if you're trimming any other thread near your bobbin, if you take your fingers here and you push the bobbin away with that middle finger and you trim here, you'll never cut your bobbin thread.
Unless you're me. Never say never.
Unless you're Zach. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my flash and I'm going to trim it slightly longer than a tail at an angle. So see how I angle my scissors? That just puts a taper on the flash. Just like that. And then all I need to do is whip finish, but I don't have the tool handy. I think Zach's got one handy for me. Thank you, Zach. Quick, ooh.
I think you should watch
A quick whip finish,
our whip finishing video,
which should be out by the time this comes out.
I would think so.
All right, and there she is. I mean, just look at how dirty that fly looks right there.
I'd eat it.
I would too. Plus, it's olive, your favorite color.
It is my. I thought that was orange.
It's olive with some like brownie, orangey tips.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Cool, guys. Well, thanks for watching the video. If you guys need to order some materials, we'll have the links in the description below, and that helps us out. Otherwise, we'll catch y'all on the next fly time video.